The spiritual world of the nation, the heritage of our ancestors, their intellect and knowledge, their philosophical attitude, the facts of history and love for the beautiful. All this is left to us as a legacy in priceless manuscripts created by great personalities who lived and worked in our land, but became the property of all mankind. These manuscripts and folios, poetic divans and scientific treatises were copied from century to century in the centuries of the Middle East, Central Asia and India. And then they went to Europe in caravans, where they were translated into Latin. They were carefully, like the apple of an eye, kept in the royal palaces and national libraries, and since the 18th century in the Oriental Institutes of London, Paris and New Delhi, Tehran and St. Petersburg, Washington and Cambridge, Oxford and Berlin, Istanbul and New York. The President of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, has repeatedly taken the initiative on the need to preserve and study the intellectual heritage of the country. A number of important documents were signed. Getting acquainted with them within the framework of the cultural legacy of Uzbekistan in the World Collections project, it was decided to publish a new exclusive series of the project, 100 Outstanding Manuscripts of Uzbekistan. The purpose of this area is the publication of facsimile copies of the best manuscripts created in the past in the territory of the powerful states of the East. And this cycle will become a logical continuation of the copies of Uthman Quran from Ketalangar, the manuscript Timur Tuzukları, the poetic divan of Hussein Baykara, and the historical treatise of Mirhond Roza Asaf, already published as a part of the project. The original of these masterpieces are kept at the Institute of Oriental Manuscripts of the Russian Academy of Sciences in St. Petersburg, as well as the priceless folio of the Bibliothèque Nationale de France in Paris, Mirajnameh, which includes more than 70 magnificent miniatures. We spoke in detail about these manuscripts, facsimiles of which were returned to their homeland in 2017 at the media event in Tashkent. Currently, work is underway to identify a list of 100 unique books kept in the collections of world-famous libraries and museums. This list already includes immortal manuscripts with works by Alisher Nava'i and Nuruddin Abdurrahman Jami, Sadi and Hafiz, Zakhiruddin Muhammad Babur, and scientific treatises by Al-Kharazmi, Al-Biruni, Abi Ali ibn Sina, Avicenna, and Ulughbek. These are world-famous manuscripts housed in the British Library, the Cambridge University Library, the Bodleian Library in Oxford, and the National Libraries of France and Germany, as well as the National Museum and the Khuda Bakhsh Library in India, the Topkapi Collection in Istanbul, and the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. Some of them are well studied, for example as the lifetime manuscript of Alisher Nava'i, which are stored in the Russian National Library in St. Petersburg or British Library in London. Among these books, there are rare, illustrated with miniatures by great Kamaluddin Behzad, real masterpieces of book art, copied in the capital of the Khorasan Sultanate in Herat between 1465 and 1499 by the great calligrapher Sultan Ali Mashhati. Of particular value are the copies of sacred Quran, which by the will of fate are stored in Copenhagen, Munich, and Delhi. Often they are marked with the seals of the great Baburids. Shah Jahan, like his lifetime manuscript of the Divan by the great Oriental Renaissance poet Hilali. This manuscript dates from the 1531 and it's kept in the library of the University of Cambridge. Another valuable and unique manuscript with the seal of Shah Jahan is Tarikh-i Khandani Timuriya, Timurnama, from the Khuda Bakhsh Library in India. This is the history of the reign of Amir Timur and his descendants Zakhiruddin Muhammad Babur, Humayun, and Akbar. It contains 132 miniatures created by miniaturists of the Mughal era. It is authentically known that it was made in 1584-86 by the order of Shah Akbar for the Royal Library of the Baburids. The richly illustrated folio of the Baburnama dated 1598 was also their table book. Now this manuscript is kept in the National Museum of India. The real gem in the National Library in Paris is the astronomical album of the medieval scholar Abdullah al-Sufi, who lived in the 10th century. This unique manuscript was copied in Samarkand at the direction of Mirza Ulugh Beg for his library. In addition to stunning drawings with the signs of the zodiac, the album, according to Frederic Bresson, president of the Parisian Timurid Society, contains the portrait of Mirza Ulugh Beg as Sufi. But many of the Oriental manuscripts in Arabic, Persian, and Chagatai have not yet been studied. Being incredibly valuable, they tell us the stories and traditions of the Islamic world for almost more than 10 centuries, the connection that existed between historians and miniature poets and the rulers of vast territories, from the Near and Middle East to India. From this point of view, the new era of the 100 Outstanding Manuscripts of Uzbekistan project is of a great scientific and educational importance. It will make previously unknown manuscripts made in Herat and Samarkand, Bukhara and Shiraz, Tabriz and Agra available to researchers. Already today, a facsimile of Safarnama is presented as a rare literary monument on the biography of a statesman and politician who created a huge empire and played an outstanding role in history, Amir Timur. The original of this manuscript in Persian is kept at the British Library. Its author is the most famous historian Sharafuddin al-Yazdi. This copy was created in Shiraz in 1533. In addition, the well-known printing house Müller and Schindler, specializing in the manufacture of facsimile folios, will present an album consisting of especially valuable sheets and miniatures of the world-famous manuscripts by Alisher Navai, kept both in the British Library and in the Museum of Islamic Art in Berlin, the National Library of France, and the Bodleian Library in Oxford. In addition, the illustrated volume includes sheets from the manuscript by Jalaluddin Rumi. The illustrated volume also includes miniatures from the already mentioned astronomical treatise by al-Sufi. Of particular interest to scholars will be sheets from the fundamental works by al-Khwarizmi kept in the Bodleian Library, as well as sheets from al-Biruni's book, Chronology of Ancient Peoples, from the University of Edinburgh. Each of these manuscripts is a true individual treasure. Being returned as a facsimile copies to the land where their originals were created, they seem to restore the connection of times and open up new pages of history and culture for us.